Hi, my name's Aisha. I'm gonna do the very last critic, and I'm gonna do it on Gay by the Bay. As I was like reading throughout the book, during this semester, I think what like affected me the most in the reading was the plague years on page 85. I was like, I looked at a particular photograph. Well, it was like an artwork. Um, like just to start off about my feelings on the epidemic, the AIDS epidemic. From what I like, from I'm not from that time. I'm born in 1996. So as I was growing up, you learn about AIDS. You get your sources from people, and you learn about the disease through people. And as I was growing up, I learned about it, and I was just like there was all like there, like had its own certain victim, from what I gather. Like all the victims of AIDS that I knew were black, and they were gay, and these were all in main cities. And as I was growing up, I was like, why is this, why that so? Like I'm sure there's some straight people, there's some white people, there's some like non-black, non-POC people who have AIDS, but when you read about it, when you watch movies about it, like it's all there's like when you hear about it, like you hear about, like it's just the things that come about it. It's just it's gay, like the victims are gay, they're black, or if you were to watch TV and there's a character from the 70s and she's a hoe, like she has AIDS, so that's just the boxed in category of the people who are affected by it. And I never and like what scares me, not really scares me, what concerns me is just like this, like I was reading about well, it said the first person with AIDS, it was like in 1980. I'm not sure if this is particularly correct, but they were gay, and then they found another person with AIDS, and they like all these people, like 70, I think it was saying about like 70, maybe like 70% of people, like 80% of 70, like the 70,000 annual like VD clinic visits were gay. And then I'm looking at the photograph, like this artwork. I'll post it under this video. And like I'm looking at the artwork, and it's so dark. It's like just insanely dark. And it's just one comment. It's just a bunch of people in the lab with their hazmat suits on, and they're cooking up some stuff. And there's like this big jar, and it says AIDS on it. And so one person's like, gays have been gaining too much politically despite our assassination. So we've developed this virus which breaks down the body's immunity system. And I was just like, holy shit. Okay, so that's insane. But this obviously whoever who drew this up, this is their idea of like what society has brought like what United States has brought onto their citizens. So they're gay citizens, they're black citizens. So, and then there's one that says we've infected the major cities where gays congregate. So like New York, San Francisco, L.A., and and then another person says the self-righteous religious fundamentalists will say that it is a punishment from God. It will ruin many gay businesses, not to mention the lives of those faggots. And then what will happen when our virus spreads to other segments of the society? Who cares? The gays will get the blame for it, and we'll make millions trying to find a cure for it. Like holy shit. And I mean, like it's just, there's gonna be conspiracy theories, but for a long time when I was a kid, even till now, I was just like, this whole AIDS thing, it seems pretty man-made. Like to me, it seemed like like the victims of these people there was too many of the same victims, and like a lot of, and like when you hear about people getting AIDS, like even when I grew up in San Bernardino County. I grew up in a neighborhood, like I think years ago, there wasn't that much emotional intelligence. I grew up around a lot of people. Even I didn't have that much emotional intelligence, so I grew up around a lot of ignorant people, and like I hear terrible things about how AIDS is just a gay man's disease or an African disease and all this stuff. And I'm like, what? Like, who created this stigma? Who created this stereotype? This idea? This characteristic? And like this characteristic has becoming heavy and heavy, like year after, like decade after decade. Like these people who are affected, and like it's just so terrible because like so many people have been neglected during those times while getting AIDS. And like I was watching Pose, and it's based on a true story, but I'm not sure if this particular scene is like correct. But like they were just throwing out the dead body somewhere because there's like it's the hospitals are overwhelmed, kind of like COVID now. Like hospitals are overwhelmed, and like there's no like they're just placing bodies at like in certain areas, rural areas. And like it's just so devastating because I don't know what it's like to live in the 80s, but I know gay was like um rejected by society much heavily than it is now. So I wouldn't be surprised that this dark truth um beneath this country was that fact that people were getting like innocent people were getting infected because they didn't look like the mainstream society. They didn't look like them. They didn't have the same views as them. They didn't like. They just didn't belong to America. Like they weren't allowed to be here. And I'm not saying that they weren't. I'm saying this is what the majority of society would say. So like they've been pushing them out by killing them like at very young ages. And during the semester I would watch I will do our critics, or I'll do our reflections or something, and I do the readings and I look at some of the readings or some of the artwork, and some of the artists have died of AIDS. And like I'm starting like I put this together, and it's just really common. It's just really common, and it's just really frightening. I don't know how the AIDS epidemic is to today. I know I have a friend who's on PrEP, and they take stuff to prevent them from HIV, I believe. But I think when I was reading, sorry for being a little emotional. I think when I was reading this book, um, I don't really learn much about this, and I really appreciate this book because you get an idea of what people went through and how evil society could be to target you just to kill you off because they don't want you a part of their society. And this is all secretly. Like this is just a secret thing that they do. And they just and then while these people are ill and getting treatment, they're getting neglected by the hospitals. So yeah, I'll post this photo underneath this video so you guys can look at it. It's an artwork. I don't really know who the artist is. I tried to look it up. It says Hugh Jordan, so I could be the artist's name, but it's very dark and it's really sad. But yeah, that's what I have for today. That's my last critic. I hope you enjoyed.